Hello everybody, welcome to Dirty Air. I'm your host Alex Lambert, and let's talk about NASCAR on July 4th weekend up at Road America in Wisconsin. A pretty interesting race, not a whole lot of passing through the field, but we do have some interesting and important storylines to talk about as we do every week of this 2022 season. Tyler Reddick was able to get by Chase Elliott in the final stage to win his first ever career NASCAR Cup race, so congratulations to him. He did a great job running this race, was able to find something to get past Elliott. We started out this race, first two stages were run. It didn't look like Chase Elliott had anybody even close to catching him. It looked like this was Chase Elliott's race to win or lose. Nothing was going to happen to take Chase Elliott out of the lead. Then we take the green flag for the final stage, the third stage, and Tyler Reddick found something. I don't know if he changed his line around a little bit. I don't know if they found something on pit road and made some adjustments to the car. Maybe a little bit of both was combinated in that. But they found something to run with Chase Elliott. Not only that, they became faster than Chase Elliott, and it showed. It took him a couple of laps to get around Chase Elliott with the dirty air and all that played into effect. But Tyler Reddick's car was just so much faster. He was able to get by him and get that win. So obviously it's unfortunate for Chase Elliott. Chase said in his interview he felt like he made a lot of mistakes at the end of the race. First off, maybe holding back a little bit, maybe making some mistakes while leading, having that big lead in the final stage. He had a pretty decent sized lead in the last stage, and in his mind, he thinks he blew it. I think Tyler Reddick was going to get to him anyway. He was super fast. Tyler Reddick was Superman there at the end of this race, being able to get by Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott on the final restart. And passing was not very common today. Wherever you ran and restarted was typically where you finished in the race. Not a whole lot of passing going on. Even Kyle Busch couldn't do much passing back in the low 20s. In the 30th place position. So that's obviously a shame as well. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about what this means for Tyler Reddick. This season alone, there's been a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda for a lot of drivers. I go to Bubba Wallace, who's had plenty of issues. That even the TV announcers today said they think Bubba could have won a couple of races this year. You go back to the Daytona 500. Ryan Blaney could have won a race in the Daytona 500. You go back to just Coda. There's so much craziness and so much action is taking place this year. There's a lot of shoulda, coulda, woulda that comes with that, but I don't think there's any more heartbreaks that have occurred, big enough heartbreaks that have occurred to anybody but Tyler Reddick, your winner today. Tyler Reddick has dominated races this season. I keep going back to Fontana when we talk about Tyler Reddick, and that's because it has to be addressed. He dominated NASCAR in Fontana the second race this year. He was the car to beat, kind of like Chase Elliott was the first portion of this year, and then he had a flat tire 3/4 through the race, then gets slammed by William Byron, taking Tyler Reddick's win completely away. That was a race he should have won. That was his race to win. And then I go back to Bristol Dirt. This is Tyler Reddick's next race he can win. He's right there at it. Obviously, the 14 car in that instance made a move on him, tried to pull a slider, ended up backing into him, and Tyler Reddick did lose that race to Kyle Busch by a couple of yards, and that's just another example of that. And obviously, I was excited about that because I'm a Kyle Busch fan, but it still was heartbreaking for Tyler Reddick, and Tyler Reddick finally got that win today. He showed he's talented. He showed he can run around this road course. Didn't make a lot of mistakes. Dove in the corner deep. And did a great job at winning this race. So congrats on Tyler Reddick for getting this win. Not sure if it'll be his last this year. He's been fast this year, but with the way this season is going, there's a lot of fast race cars, and there's a lot of action, and there's a lot of craziness taking place. So it's kind of nice to have a calm race. Finally, we did have a fairly steady, calm race. That's kind of a relief sometimes. Not too much action this week, like we'll probably get next week in Atlanta. So a fairly steady, a fairly calm race today, which has typically been what the road courses have been like this season. Let's go through the top 10 just real quick. Chase Elliott, like I said, finished second in his post-race interview, said, he thinks he made some mistakes, could have won this race if he hadn't have made those mistakes in certain corners, maybe let off a little bit when he had the big lead in the final stage that he should not have done. And then, of course, when the pressure was put on by Reddick, he made some mistakes that he think, obviously, ultimately, the pass we saw was a mistake by Chase Elliott, overdriving the corner. Obviously, he thinks some of those mistakes could have been not made, I guess. Kyle Larson was a third-place car all day. He finished third. That's going to be the theme of the top 5 here, the top 10. Ross Chastain finished fourth, a pretty decent run for him to get that fourth-place position. He's been fairly fast at the road courses this season. The whole Trackhouse Racing team has been fast at the road courses this season because the next Trackhouse Racing driver is in fifth, right behind him, Daniel Suarez, who won the last road course race at Sonoma, gets a top 5, a pretty good run for him as well. Chris Buescher, who they talked about on the broadcast, circled this date as a day they think they could get the win. We do have a couple more road courses coming up before the playoffs start. The Indy Road Course course. We'll have to see if they'll capitalize on that and maybe try to get the win there. Austin Cindric, I said after he won the Daytona 500 in February that wasn't a fluke win. Obviously, this is his rookie season. He's still learning. He's getting valuable track time. I don't think we can really judge how talented he is this season. We'll have to wait maybe a year or two after this year to really know if he's going to be a top competitor. But today, obviously, getting 7th isn't bad. He's one of those road course ringer kind of guys. He raced a couple of road course races last year. I want to say he was actually a contender for the win this race a year ago at Road America and the Circuit of the Americas last year. So one of those road course racers gets a top 10. Michael McDowell once again in the top 10. He's in the top 10 a lot right now, so some good runs for him. Unfortunately, he's really far out the playoff bubble. He's probably going to have to get a win, but with the way this year's going and with the tracks we have coming up, it's possible for him to get in the playoffs. AJ Allmendinger, a literal road course ringer. He only races some races a year. He is finishing 9th today, and then Kevin Harvick, who's battling to get into the playoffs now with this win. He's been knocked out, finishes 10th. So obviously a 10th place finish is decent for him, but he needs to be looking at getting wins if he wants to make the playoffs, or at least getting top 5s. Geez, at least something better than top 10s, because 10th place for Kevin Harvick is not going to cut it, not going to get him in the playoffs. I do want to mention the Toyotas, because if you notice, I went through the top 10 there, and there was not a single Toyota in it. The Toyotas had a disastrous day today. I don't even know if they were trying to be competitive today. It didn't seem like it. Truex was the only car that really had a steady race all day. He finished 13th. Denny Hamlin having multiple pit road penalties. Track position is way too important at a racetrack like this with this race car to be giving up positions constantly. He got 2 pit road penalties for driving through too many pit boxes. I think he was the only driver to do that. He might have been the only driver to get a pit road penalty the whole race. I have to go back and look at that. Christopher Bell was having a somewhat decent run, was probably going to get a top 10, and then had a problem on pit road with getting the tire off. He ended up finishing 20th. Kurt Busch having some issues, finishing 23rd. Kyle Busch finishing 29th on the day after a disaster from the start. They had to change the engine. He had to start in the back. Like I said, track position is important. He started dead last. He actually ended up having more problems after that, spun around with Joey Logano. What a disastrous day for the Toyotas once again. Then, of course, we had Bubba Wallace, the bad. This one wasn't really bad luck. He kind of messed up a couple times himself this time, overdriving the corner with Brad Keselowski and then kind of getting run into by another driver. So he spun out twice and then ultimately didn't even finish the race, pulled off the track before it was over. So a terrible day for Toyotas. I mentioned Toyota now 2 weeks in a row for having bad weeks, so that's unfortunate for them. But let's talk about the playoffs. This is what I'm here for. Talk about the playoff standings. Austin Cindric is the last driver with the win in the playoffs as far as points go. So if there is more than 16 winners, which would mean you would have to get a 17th winner, which is possible, that would knock Austin Cindric out, depending on who the other winner is. Obviously, he is right now the one on the bubble with a win. And look at the races we have coming up. We have Atlanta coming up. We have New Hampshire coming up. New Hampshire, a fairly race where we probably won't get a surprise winner, or it's more unlikely. But I look at Pocono. Pocono, a strategic racetrack where you can win a fuel mileage race. We've seen that happen many a times. Upset winners at Pocono. Like I did say, Atlanta, that's now a pack race, just in case you were unfamiliar with that. That is a pack race now. Indianapolis Road Course, a brand new winner on this road course as well. That has produced the road courses this year. The 3 road courses we've run at have produced 3 first-time winners ever. 3 first career wins for the 3 road course races we've had so far. We have another one of those coming up and only 3 playoff spots left available. Michigan, Richmond, Watkins Glen, another road course that could produce a winner. And then we ended out with another pack race, Daytona. I'm not going to say it happens. If I have to make a decision and if I have to guess, I say we get 16 different winners on the money, because that is a lot to get 17. But it is possible that we get a 17th different winner, which is why all of a sudden, for the guys that have already won a race but are kind of lower on that win list, kind of not guaranteed in and kind of, it's close on points. And now you have to start racing for points again, because there is a decent and very good chance you could get another winner. Like I said, Daytona coming up. All that stuff could create Atlanta, road courses, all that stuff could create a surprise winner, another new winner. Ryan Blaney is in the playoffs right now by 112 points, but I think he needs to be looking at winning a race. He could get knocked out as easily as Kevin Harvick just did. He's in by 112 unless he has, massive issues and nobody else wins a race, then he will most likely be in. Truex, 61 points in. Once again, one winner puts him on the bubble. Two more winners, we have two more pack races, puts him below the cut line, if it's not him, obviously. Christopher Bell, 20 points in. He's on the cut. It was Kevin Harvick on the cut. Nope, not anymore. Kevin Harvick is now below the cut line, 20 points out. Can you imagine just 2 years ago Harvick was a championship favorite, and now in 2022 with this next-gen car, he might not even make the 16-driver playoffs. Eric Almirola, just 2 weeks ago, going into Nashville, he was 6-7 points in the playoffs. Inside the playoff cut line, that's how quick these things can change. There's 60 points on the line per race. He drops 47 points below. I think Eric Almirola is in a must-win, and he has a lot of opportunities to win coming up to some racetracks that favor his style of racing. Eric Jones in a must-win. Austin Dillon, unless something crazy happens, they're going to have to win a race to get into the playoffs, and that's very important, like I said. So, yep, that's all there really is to talk about after a fairly calm race at Road America. Like I said, there was still a lot of storylines to get into. Obviously, you had, mentioning the points, you had Ryan Blaney actually take some stage points there. He actually stayed out extra pit stop, or didn't stay out, but did not pit to get the track position in the final stage. He figured he would have lost the race anyway, so you might as well go ahead and take the stage points, get 10 points while you can. He was able to make that up a little bit, get up to 11th position, so 112 points in for Ryan Blaney, but that's still not ideal. He definitely could still be knocked out if he doesn't get a win. If there is more than 17 different winners or more than 16 different winners, I think Ryan Blaney would probably be one of those, but there's no guarantee. But that's it. That's really all there's to talk about after a somewhat decent Road America race. Like I said, not a whole lot of passing. I think NASCAR is obviously already addressing these flat racetracks, trying to fix the problem they have with the dirty air. It definitely needs to be addressed. I think it'll be addressed. I think it'll be completely fixed going into 2023. At least I hope so. Maybe before the playoffs start this year. But that's it. Of course, like I said, that's all there is to talk about. And about Kyle Busch having a absolutely horrendously terrible couple of weeks since we came back from the break. Really 3 weeks in a row. Let's get rowdy.